Okay, so this is the new demo, and we're going to save this file as do save as switch2. Let's do switch_2. It's easier to see. And I'll just call this switch2 for right now. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and save this, and we already have this code here from the last demonstration, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this and I'm going to comment it out for right now. So let's go ahead and select all of this, and one of the ways, in Dreamweaver that you can use your comments is over here in this side area, and you can apply a comment by selecting stuff, and it's kind of nice, then you're not typing as much. You can also delete your comments that way as well. So let's go ahead and I'm going to copy some of this information in just a moment, so we're not reinventing the wheel completely. But before we do that, I want to show you some other things besides the switch case. And this isn't exactly, some of the stuff I'm about to show you is not necessarily about logical expressions exactly, but logical expressions do not exist in a vacuum. You have to know how to do some other stuff so that it makes the logical expressions a useful endeavor. Okay, so first thing I want to show you right now, though, is something that is about the superglobal arrays, and we haven't really talked much about that, if at all. And the superglobal arrays are things that are preset in PHP, and they're always in capital letters. And essentially they are just what they say they are. They're arrays, and because it is a PHP set thing, it is also global. So it means that you can call them out at any time, and because they're predefined array functions within PHP, it'll allow you to go ahead and grab certain information. And there are some different things that are included in superglobal arrays. One is the post method for posting to forms. The get method is another one you may have heard of, which gets information from the URL and returns information back to the browser. Another one that we'll use later in the semester is the file array, and it gives you information about uploading files. And the one we're going to talk about right now is the server array. And what that does is it returns environment information back to you about your server, your computing environment. So let's go ahead first and we're going to go ahead and do a print r actually. Do print_r, and it's going to be on something, and in this case it's going to be server. And like I said before, a superglobal array is in all caps, but not only that, it's also always going to be preceded by the $symbol and an underscore. This is one of the reasons that I don't ever encourage anyone to start their normal variable names with an underscore, and that's because PHP actually does that already with some other specific kinds of superglobal arrays, well, specific type of predefined arrays. And if you didn't know about these and you tried to, let's say, use underscore all caps server, well, it wouldn't actually return what you think it would return, because this is something that is already defined in PHP. It would return the server superglobal array information. Anyway, so what we're going to do is we're going to inspect the array that the server grabs, and like we've done before in this class, we're going to go ahead and we're going to echo our pre-tags so that it's really very simple to see what we're dealing with. So we're going to copy this and we're going to do an end pre-tag. Alright, so let's save this and test it on our browser. Let's go up to Firefox, and we were on the old switch page, so let's go ahead and go to switch_2, and there we have our server superglobal array. And you can see that it has a lot of different keys that it always looks for, and you can find a lot out about your server environment, and you can even find out information about the IP address that's accessing things like this. So anyway, like for instance, you can look to see who the HTTP host is. In my case, it's a local host because I'm testing on a local computer. Some of the things that we're going to look at, for instance, are things that are going to help us figure out where we are in the URL. Okay, and that's going to be very useful to figure out. For instance, like what is the name of our script right here? Okay, what is the directory above us? Or what is our directory for this file? What is the directory above that, and so on. But anyway, this is the key that we're going to want to access from the server superglobal array, and a lot of these things look very similar. For instance, like this might look the same as this, and this might look the same as this, and right now they are the same values that are being returned, but it doesn't necessarily mean that the values are always going to be identical. So and then this is even more confusing for some people, like, okay, what's the difference between script name and script file name? You see that this pathway is very different. This one is actually giving us an absolute path all the way from the very top level of the actual server file system, whereas and it's giving it all the way down to the script name. All right, in this case it's switch underscore to .php, whereas the one called document root, for instance, is giving us the absolute path all the way from the library, but only down to the main web serving folder for our particular website. Okay, and then script name is totally different altogether, right? It actually gives us the root level from basically what we consider to be our host. So our host would be our domain name, or in this case, if you look up here, it's localhost. Okay, so you could look at this kind of like, okay, well, it'd be the HTTP host, and then the rest of the URL in this case would be slash, this, for instance. Okay. Anyway, so the point I'm getting at is that you can use some of the server superglobal array keys to actually get some of this information that's reporting about your environment back to the browser so that you can actually use it in some useful kind of way. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and copy where it says script name. I'm going to jump back over here to Dreamweaver. And we're actually going to do something a little bit different. Okay, we don't need to do this pre-business anymore. Okay, let's get rid of that. Now, and also I'm not going to do a print R. So what I want to do now is I want to get the value of that script name. So I'm going to store that. Actually, I can store it in a variable. And we're going to call that variable, in this case, we'll call it page. Okay, and what I'm going to do here to get the key to show up is just like in a normal array, right? You're going to, whoops, except I already did this. There we go. You're going to do the name of, the name of the array. Having problems with my mouse here. All right, so the name of the array, and then you're going to provide the key that you want to access, which in this case is here, and you're going to provide it inside the syntax of the bracket, like normal open bracket, single apostrophe, and then close it with single apostrophe, and then close bracket. Alright, so we're going to get page, and just for the heck of it, let's echo back page so that we can see what value that is returning, so we'll be absolutely sure of what's going on. Okay, so let's save that and let's go back to our page in Firefox and let's test it. And in fact, it is pulling the URL that looks like this part. Okay, so it's not grabbing the actual host, it's grabbing it's looking at the path that starts right after the host. Okay, so let's go back to Dreamweaver.